Hi everyone, it's Elaine Hamilton. I'd like to have a little chat around something a bit more practical with Reiki, particularly if you're doing Reiki for others or if you've just started on this journey and you're starting to get results that maybe weren't discussed in class. To be honest, in most Reiki classes, unless you're doing a specific training to become a healer, in general, the class is focused more on you and your own self-help and healing loved ones. So it's rarely that the course will really talk about practitioner training. And so this was inspired by a conversation I was having around um, uh, kind of the things that can happen when you yourself are giving treatment to other people. And I do know that in some Reiki schools, they do talk about the different sensations and what they mean and identifying those. I am a little bit more, can you guess it, of the school that you should make up your own schema of things. Because ultimately in Reiki, what I might feel as heat, you might actually feel as something else. And that's very common. So when you Reiki somebody else, you might not feel much and they might feel a lot of heat. Or you might feel a lot of tingling and they feel a lot of heat, or even cold, or they feel pain even in their body. So you don't always match up with what the books say. So rather than looking at the books as the authority, always look at yourself as the authority. And over time, you will build up your own Bible of what means what to you. For me, in general, and again, this is just as a little guidance to start you off on your own interpretive journey. Is oftentimes when I am doing healing for somebody, it can feel when they're doing physical healing or when they're very tired or when the energy is very depleted in a physical sense. For me, it does feel quite hot under my hands. It's almost like the base chakra energy is at work where the Reiki is pumping in a lot of energy to help the body do its work and recover in a physical way. For me, I've noticed that when it tends to be more stress related or when it tends to be more emotionally based, mental rather than emotional. If it's more mental stress and anxiety and worry, then for me, my hands can feel very buzzy. Like there's a lot of agitation, like there's a lot of almost pins and needles or ants running around under my hands. And so when that happens on certain positions, I will think, oh, there's something being processed here more on a mental level rather than a physical level. And then finally, again, just for me, when I hit emotions, I will feel the relevant emotion. So when I put my hands on somebody and that area is holding a lot of sadness, then I will feel sad or angry or very agitated or fear. So I tend to mirror emotionally what somebody else is feeling in that where my hands are, so where the energy is. And it's important to remember that just because the energy is feeling like that in a certain place does not mean the person feels like that. So I could be putting my hands on a part of the body that is storing a lot of fear. And so I will feel a lot of fear, but that does not mean the person that I'm treating is feeling fear in that moment. It's just where it's being stored in the body. If you put your hands there, you might notice that the fear starts, or the feeling of fear might start to subside. And all you're doing there is you're just holding space for the person to release that emotion that is trapped in that part of the body. So be careful not to over interpret things. I think it's always much better just to appreciate and trust that the person kind of is doing their own work and you are more like a channel for Reiki, that you're just there and you're allowing the flow to happen. Um, Even the word allowing the flow to happen. Have you ever tried stopping it? It's like when people say, oh, you got to turn Reiki on and you've got to turn Reiki off. Have you ever actually tried turning your Reiki off? It's not up to you, right? It just happens. So again, with a lot of this stuff, you can, I might get into trouble here, but you can go down the road of following teachers to the letter or the philosophy of the school to the letter, and you're given a sheet and this equals this and this equals this, like a recipe, as if recipes don't change and evolve, and as if people from different cultures use different spices, use different ingredients. It's like there's no such thing as a set recipe. Everything is open to interpretation. So when you start to build your own database, your own knowledge base of what happens, and then you just start to test it out. Now, again, we're getting into murky waters here, but it's the feedback that you're getting. So you're kind of asking if you're noticing that there's a lot of heat, or there's a lot of tingling, or that you kind of ask what's up, what are you feeling, get some feedback, because then you will start to understand what and interpret what these sensations mean for you, and then they are kind of matched or not matched by the person that you're doing the healing for. So a lot of this stuff is kind of hit and miss in the beginning, you're just testing it out, and you're trying it out, and you're getting feedback. So there's nothing wrong with getting feedback. There's nothing wrong with asking. If you notice a lot of heat, for example, asking if they have an injury in that area, and it could be an old injury as well, like it could be stuff that's been there for a while. And that's fun, because then when they're like, oh my God, how did you know that? That's also your hands telling you that actually there's a lot of information here that you can kind of work with Reiki and work with the person. And it's just for fun, right? It's kind of one of those things that allows you to become more trusting of what's happening, and the fact that Reiki is flowing in a certain way and you don't have to do anything for it. Um, and so then you could say, well, why does it matter whether I know or not? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't matter whether you feel heat and whether you know what that is, or whether you want to interpret it or not interpret it. Sometimes it can be useful, though, as prompts for people. Maybe you notice that there's a lot of agitation in the system. Sometimes I mention it, sometimes I don't, depends on the situation. Sometimes it's also for the person that you're giving healing to. When you are able to pinpoint areas, it makes them trust in the energy more. Now, and that isn't a manipulative thing, that's simply placebo, because the more we believe something is working, the more it works. And that's not a scam. That's not a manipulation of any sort. That is simply using our ability to engage our mind with our body and make it work more positively. That's all placebo is. So what placebo is this idea that when you have belief in something, your entire self engages in it much more effectively. So when the mind believes something, then the body believes it too, the immune system believes it, everything believes it, and therefore it is more likely, that's what placebo is, it's more likely to impact in a positive way. So there's nothing wrong with, when you're doing healing for other people, is to see if you can engage their whole self in the healing. And part of that is simply the trust that something is happening, something is different. Now, for a lot of people, they feel that something's different because they can feel the energy, but for some people, they can't. So having you say, oh, what about this? What about that? Oh, this is interesting here. And for them to think, oh my God, you're right, gives people a kind of boost. And it gives you a boost too. So again, with the caveat of don't turn into an egomaniac. Don't turn into one of those awful therapists that basically tell people what they feel without any permission to do so. I've been in situations where I'm just sitting minding my own business, and someone will come up to me and say, oh, I've noticed this about your aura, or I've noticed that about your energy field, or this. That is so egotistical. And I tend to just really smack people hard when they do that to me, because I'm like, I haven't asked you for your opinion. But if you're giving healing to somebody, then the the unwritten rule or assumption is that they are open to feedback. Again, if you're not sure, check it out. Just ask them, like, if I get any feedback, or would you like to hear any feedback that I get during the session? And if they want it, they'll say yes. And if they don't want it, they'll say no. And you respect that. You respect that decision. Um, Another thing is that sometimes, from a therapist's perspective, when you are working with people that really have a lot of energy going on, or they have a lot of shifting going on, or they're just frankly really ill, the energy of Reiki as it works through your body can sometimes be quite overwhelming. And so I've had situations where I have literally wanted to throw up. I felt very faint. I felt very dizzy. I felt a lot of pain going down through my arms, out my hands. Um, I've had some really uncomfortable situations whereby during the healing session, I have felt physically uncomfortable or mentally uncomfortable or very nauseous. Now, all that's telling you, you're not doing anything wrong. There's nothing happening that you're doing wrong. But all that's telling you is there is a huge amount of energy that is pouring through you and kind of blowing out some of your circuits. So the rule of thumb is always take care of yourself. Don't martyr yourself for somebody else's healing. If you just move your hands slightly, or if you break off, just take a little break, go grab some water. Oftentimes, when a lot of energy is coming through you, you'll start to feel very dehydrated. That can cause a lot of dizziness and discomfort. So always have water around when you're giving a treatment so that you can stop, take a sip of water, go back to what you're doing, or move your hands and see if that makes it feel better. There is absolutely no need and no point to make yourself ill in order to help somebody else. And what you'll notice that as soon as you shift your hands into a different position, whatever that discomfort was will lift immediately. Now, if it doesn't lift immediately and it carries on all the way, and in the end you still feel dizzy and ill and whatever, then that's a you problem. So go get it checked out and make sure that you don't have low blood pressure or you don't have whatever, something else going on. Because in general, as soon as you start to move your hands, then you'll start to feel better. So all that's happening in those situations is a very big surge of energy going through that your body is just struggling to deal with. So that's one thing. There's not really much you can do about that, frankly. But the other thing to watch out for is if it happens a lot. So if you notice that when you're healing people, you're always coughing, or you're always burping, or you're always feeling really hot, or you're always feeling really uncomfortable, then just check in with yourself. If it happens occasionally, every now and again, and you know that the person you're treating happens to be very ill, that's totally normal. There's not much you can do about that. But if it's everybody, so it doesn't matter whether the person's ill or not ill, or come for stress release, or come for cancer, or whatever, it's always the same, whereby you are feeling very uncomfortable, very drained at the end of your treatment with them. The check-in is just to ask yourself, am I taking on the responsibility for their healing? And what I mean by that is, are you thinking things like, oh, I hope this works. I hope they feel something. I hope they get better. I hope. So whatever you hope for somebody else is what you're giving them. I've covered this a lot in other videos, but it does keep coming up because people, particularly beginners, okay, people in the beginning are worried that their friend or their loved ones or the people they care about are, one, going to laugh outright and be very skeptical and think they're crazy. Because we all think we're a bit crazy in the beginning. It's like, what is this? What am I doing? This is mental, right? And that's totally understandable as a beginner. Honestly, I still think that. Like, I had a feedback today. I sent an attunement to the other side of the world, and the guy texted me back. He was like, wow, just wow. And I'm like, it's so cool, right? It's just crazy that we can do this, and there's such a big impact. So as a beginner, and even as a veteran, when we are working with this energy, it's still pretty mental. It's kind of crazy. Like, what the hell is happening? We don't know. But that beginner's lack of trust sometimes means that you pour a lot of your own energy into the healing because you're worried that this is all just some kind of weird scam and I've just been suckered into it and now I'm suckering other people into it. So that desire to push more energy into the person so they feel something, they really get it, they really have some kind of positive experience. What that is you pushing your energy into the person. And even worse is you are unconsciously trying to suck any energy, any negativity, any kind of toxicity out of them so they feel better. So that will be the coughing. So when you're releasing for somebody else, you'll notice that you cough or you feel super uncomfortable or you feel drained or you feel whatever. They feel great because what's happened is your energy's just piled into them and it's drained you. There is absolutely no need to do that with Reiki. It's not a tool to be used like that. Imagine yourself as a hose pipe. So a hose pipe does not push the water through itself. It's simply the channel. The water simply flows, and the quality and the strength of the water is got nothing to do with the hose. So if you look at it like that, like when you put your hands on somebody else, what is happening is you're opening up a space simply by being there with your hands on the person. You are opening up a condition for healing. That's it. That's all you have to do. You can be thinking about stuff if you want to be. Ideally, you're in a nice meditative enjoyment of the moment. The more open your system is, the more the Reiki can just get on with it. Right? If you're sitting there, so imagine this, if you're sitting there going, oh my God, I hope this is working and this is blah, 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 and oh my God, I hope they feel something. You can imagine all of that is kind of blocking the actual natural flow of Reiki because now the Reiki has to kind of come into your brain and help you with your shit before it gets on with its job of helping the other person receive the energy so that that other person can do their own healing. So it's always the other person doing the healing. It's not you doing the healing. You're just a big hose pipe. And when you look at it like that, so if you notice that you are feeling drained or that you are feeling uncomfortable or there's just a kind of tiredness that happens after the sessions, just check in. Like, what am I doing during these sessions that is exacerbating a situation that really doesn't need to be exacerbated? Because universal life force energy, as I've said many, many times, is a heck of a lot bigger than your own personal little energy. Universal. The arrogance of the human ego, right? I can change this person's life for the better. I will do it. So just watch out for that. That's really the only thing that you can sometimes kind of meddle in as a beginner. Um, And also, if you come from different modalities, if you come from a modality where you really are the giver, like you massage, osteo, acupuncture, where you really need to be trained and you are kind of giving a particular technique, this can be a little bit hard to break, that you're suddenly just a hose. You just sit there, you do nothing. You don't have to think about technique or technology or doing it right. There's no doing it right. There's just simply the being with the person in the room, with the Reiki, enjoying yourself, listening to the music, blah, blah, blah. Super, super simple. Um, so yeah, so if you are noticing weird shit happening, just check in. So check in that it's the person is just pulling a lot of stuff from you. All you're then doing is taking care of yourself. Always take care of yourself as a priority. And remember that just because you have Reiki doesn't mean that you have to offer it to every single person that wants it, because Reiki is a self-healing modality. They can also go and learn Reiki for themselves. It doesn't have to be you giving it to them. So if you notice perhaps you're very empathic or your own energy needs Reiki, then you running around giving it to everyone else is going to be draining because you really need self-care. You don't need to care for anybody else. So that kind of imbalance that we can sometimes inadvertently fall into just with our relationships and with the way that our lives are set up. So that can also create another layer of discomfort in our energy field. So always just be checking in, right? Am I trying to give too much? Is that why I feel really tired or nauseous or dizzy? Number two, do I have a medical condition? Maybe I should go check it out, right? Just go check your blood pressure, check your bloods, check whatever if it's happening a lot. And then the third thing is it may be nothing to do with you whatsoever. It's just the energy coming through your body at a great speed or velocity or intensity, and it just makes you feel pretty ill for a while. And as soon as you move your hands, that will pass. So that's what I do. Like I don't sit there and suffer. As soon as I notice my hands have hit like a really heavy spot, I just move them because I don't want to feel like that. So, and you don't have to. If you're giving someone a nice thorough Reiki treatment over time, that energy will work within whatever system and with whatever that they're struggling with. So you don't have to do that. Okay. I hope that helps. Lovely to chat with you and see you soon.